Kita kita? It's kinda cookie. Written and directed by independent filmmaker Sigrid Andrea Bernardo, this film was received positively when it was released on July 19th, 2017. The film stars Alessandra Rossi and Empoy Marquez as Leia and Tonyo respectively. In the film, Sapporo Station tourist guide Leia was rendered blind after discovering that her fiancé was cheating on her. A man named Tonyo later comes around and tries to uplift her spirits up by going on a trip with her all across Sapporo. Like I said, this film was received positively when it was released last time, with CNN Philippines even declaring it as one of the greatest independent films in the last 25 years. Not only that, but this film, for a budget of 10 million pesos, it was a major box office success, grossing about 300 million pesos, which was a spot originally taken by the movie General Luna. Again, that's really quite an achievement. Upon hearing about the positive buzz that this film has been receiving, my expectations were definitely raised because I was promised that I would be seeing a very heartfelt, very genuine, very human-like movie that's not boring, that's really exciting to watch no matter how many times you watch it. So imagine my surprise when I actually watched this film, and I was very delighted. The first thing that literally caught my attention was the cinematography. Well, at first, I thought that they only shot the entire film in Sapporo, Japan because, well, it was just beautiful and all that. I realized that upon watching this film the second time, the setting might have some significance with regards to the narrative. The theme of this film is all about appearances and how appearances can deceive the naked eye. And I have to say, when looking at it the second time, the vibrant and energetic atmosphere that Sapporo displays through this film really helps, and it really perfectly contrasts with the harsh realities that Leia has to go through. For example, her fiancé cheating on her lack of friends in Japan, and so on and so forth. In addition to the cinematography, which was handled by Boy Iniguez, I'm pretty sure I'm saying it wrong, Boy Iniguez, we have to give credit also to Arlene Florida Calvo, the composer of the score for this film. Her musical arrangements, they really help provide the sweet, sugary, syrupy instrumentals that further emphasize the film's upbeat nature. And it really just brings about the kilig vibes, as we call them here in our country. I have to say, the film is dialogue-driven. Dialogue-driven as in, the film can be just summed up as two people going around Japan talking. Yeah, boring, right? Well, that really isn't the case here. Despite the fact that this film is dialogue-driven, the dialogue is actually the highlight of this film. Every single line, every corny joke, it never gets boring. And even with those declarations of love that we might have heard in other movies before, it's not boring. It's really heartfelt that you couldn't care less on how many times you've heard about these kinds of lines in other movies. Though I have to admit, the way the film treats its theme, it's pretty much as how you would expect it. Leia goes blind, starts to appreciate the person Tonyo is without judging him by his appearances, and they fall in love. Yada yada, you've heard this all before. Formula. But again, even though it gets predictable, the very good and heartfelt dialogue really helps keeping the pace. It never gets boring. It's just really exciting. Especially if you watch this so many times, you'd really appreciate it a whole lot more. I have to give credit to the film for its extensive use of foreshadowing. I swear, I never noticed those bits of foreshadowing until I watch it again. But we'll go to the plot twist later. Obviously, none of the dialogue that's been presented in this film could have worked without the aid of our two main actors. I have to say, I really like Alessandra Rossi's performance here. She brings this level of realistic cynicism, not the cynicism that turns people off, but rather it keeps things very relatable. And I have to also say, Empoy Marquez is really good here. I mean, I've never watched either of them in certain movies, but when I watched them together here, wow, their chemistry was really impeccable. And I really love this one scene wherein they were eating ramen and they were just having their usual date. Then there was this part, Empoy Marquez's character says that he is the one for Leia. I mean, they just stared to each other, and I was like, "Oh, this is sweet." Speaking of foreshadowing, we now head to to what I believe is the most talked about part of the film, which is the third act. I major spoilers here, guys. So the amount of foreshadowing that they put here, it's really good. It's so subtle you wouldn't notice it from a mile away, except from one bit. We'll go on later. Some examples I have to say include all of Tonya's jokes about death, because we found out later on that he has an enlarged heart and he's dying from it. These references, such as when he was offering pancit to Leia while she was still processing all of her grief. He says that pancit extends life. There's also this part when Tonya was watering Leia's plants in her garden, and while making a Plants vs Zombies reference, he says that the plants are dying. Okay, it might be reaching here, but probably the best foreshadowing bit here is the whole heart and banana analogy. Well, to explain further, in the near beginning of the film, Leia says that her fiance Nobu skipped their anniversary one time, and when she was so heartbroken, she decides to get drunk and hang around with this man who was dressed as a banana. They spend the entire night doing all the things that Nobu did with Leia. The reason why I say it's foreshadowing, because for one thing, when you look at it, Tonyo, the big heart person, is technically the heartbroken Leia. Much in the same way that the banana heals hearts. I swear I'm not overthinking this. Despite the fact that I really like the whole banana and heart analogy, it's super predictable. Like, I know who it is. I haven't even watched the movie and I already know who it is. There was some mention that this film was supposed to have 3 main characters, and I think that would make the film less predictable in a sense, but at the same time, I don't really want to see it happening that way because it might just fall around the usual love triangle stories that I'm really getting tired of watching. So I think it's for the better. The film goes about as you would expect it. They become closer as they keep on exploring Japan together. All of a sudden, when Leia begins to regain her sight, Tonya decides to cross the street for a while to get a teddy bear for Leia. Finally, Leia can see again. Tonya was, let's just say, really happy to see that Leia's healed. So he was distracted that he crossed the street without looking twice and he gets hit by a truck. Yeah, Tonya dies. There you go, guys. But that's not really the twist, though. Weeks after that in the film, Leia decides to visit Tonya's house, which is obviously now abandoned, and obviously heartbroken from the incident that happened before. She stumbles upon this letter addressed to her, and we get this flashback explaining that Tonyo, while in Sapporo, was dumped by his ex-girlfriend. And when he was left heartbroken, he just started drinking all of the alcohol in Sapporo. Then one day, Leia stumbles upon him, completely broken, wasted. Leia decides to be very kind to Tonyo, and that includes giving him food, giving him some real-life advice, and all that. All those bits of niceness. How do I say this? It's later on revealed that even before we get to meet Tonyo, Tonyo has been following her in previous scenes. In other words, Tonyo has been stalking Leia. Wow, I just realized I couldn't sugarcoat that anyway. Yeah, but Tonyo has been stalking Leia. I've read some reviews that call Tonyo as a manipulator or someone with an ulterior motive. I understand why people would say that, but honestly, I think calling him a manipulator is quite too much. Okay, I'll say it. It's creepy that Tonyo was following Leia around. It's also made worse that he interfered with Leia's personal life by orchestrating certain events for Leia to discover that her fiancé was cheating on her. Yeah, that's wrong. But if the person is indeed a manipulator, Tonyo should be doing something to make her feel bad, or could have been doing something else entirely that's going to be considered harmful. We can call him misguided, yes. Let's call him misguided for interfering with someone else's life. Because yes, that's wrong. But again, he means well and he didn't really do anything remotely horrible to harm Leia's life. I mean, we know that Tonyo has this enlarged heart problem. And if he uses that to make Leia feel bad, then yes, that's manipulation right there. For better understanding, let's compare Tonya's case to another movie called Passengers, which stars Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence. In the movie, Chris Pratt's character, Jim Preston, was awoken prematurely in his cryosleep while going away on a different planet. The problem is he could die very much early even before going to that destination. So he became lonely and he decides to read about Aurora Lane, Jennifer Lawrence's character, and he decides to wake her up despite knowing the full consequences of it. And he didn't bother telling until the end, despite the fact he knows full well that Aurora could not, that Aurora very much died early. That's manipulation right there. I don't recall Tonya doing that much though. Yeah, overall, I have to say this film quite predictable. As I said, Tonyo being in the banana suit was very predictable. I mean, who else could it be? Could it be Nobu? Could it be Nobu's mistress? Because that would just raise a lot more questions now. But the novelty, the heartfelt development, the heartfelt writing really did me favors here. Direction, the cinematography is really good. There are some corny moments, but other than that, Alessandra Rossi and Empoy Marquez's performances are very good. It really helps elevate this film. Yeah, the dialogue in general, it's great. The amount of foreshadowing, I love it. I love how much this film has a rewatch bonus. I'm gonna give this film 20/25 for awesome. So what do you guys think of this movie? Be sure to let me know in the comments. And please subscribe for more and stay tuned for more Dateline movies.
Two less lonely people in the world, and it's gonna be fine.